So one night I'm like sitting there and I'm thinking, what are our kids' names? I literally could not think of them. I knew they started with W's. Our boys' names are Waylon and Wyatt. So I'm like, I know it's W's. And then I was like, Wayne, is their name collectively Wayne? That's how tired I was. Hello, and welcome to the Twin Mom Life Podcast. I'm your host, Jess. I created this podcast to help build community, connection, and most importantly, friendships among moms of multiples. Being a twin mom can be amazing and magical. That twin bond is unlike anything I've ever witnessed. But it can also be isolating and overwhelming. I'll be chatting with other twin moms, diving deep into the twin experience, giving advice on what works for us so you don't have to learn the hard way. Juggling two babies at the same time is challenging, but I'm confident we can learn from each other and figure out how to raise these babies together. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so this is my husband, David,
Hello.
and I'm kind of using him as my test dummy because I've never used two microphones before.
Here we are.
Here we are. Okay, so let's give a little bit of background about how we met and about now we have 3 kids. Okay, so when did we meet?
In high school?
Yes, that was a long time ago. So this year, David and I are actually celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary, which is super exciting. So we met in high school and we kind of went on a date.
We went on one date.
Yes. Yeah, we did go on one date. We went to the Cheesecake Factory
We did.
and then we didn't go on any more dates.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I think it was like all in God's timing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, we went on one date to the Cheesecake Factory and then reconnected several years later, but always stayed in touch. And I do think that it was good timing because you were very busy touring the world. What do you do for a living?
In a band, a metal band.
But if you would see my husband today, you'd be like, he's in a what?
Yeah.
He looks very clean cut.
Well, I don't do the band full time anymore.
Right.
But back then, yes. So
yeah, back then it was full time.
We were on tour for 9 months out of the year for like a decade. So when you were in college.
Yeah. So I think it was good timing because I think if we tried to date then, that we weren't ready and it would have been extremely difficult with you being gone for that long.
Oh, yeah.
So we reconnected and he always jokes that I slid into his DMs.
Which you did.
I just wanted to reconnect with an old friend and I was going to be in our hometown and I wanted to see like if you wanted to grab a beer and you did.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. And the rest is history. So we dated and got married and feel like for just a couple years, we weren't quite ready to have kids. We just wanted to enjoy like the married life and we bought a house and got a dog and
Traveled.
we traveled and then kind of felt like it was time to start a family. And after that, it was kind of a little bit rough. Like we got pregnant relatively quickly and we were so excited. And just as quickly as we got pregnant, we lost it. And the first time I feel like, I don't know, you were more positive about it. One miscarriage can happen. That typically means it was like a abnormality and like a fluke. And then we got pregnant again right after and we lost it again. And then it was kind of like, okay, something is wrong here to have 2 miscarriages in a row. And this is kind of like where my love for podcasts started is I immediately was looking for connection for other women going through miscarriages and like, what do I do next? At this point, I'm kind of terrified. Are we not able to start a family? Am I ever going to be a mom? Like these kind of thoughts start running through my head. So I found podcasts and connected to other women and it really helped me have just like the hope and strength to keep going and kind of figure out what our next steps were. And luckily, our doctor was very open to testing because sometimes they will wait until you have 3 miscarriages to have testing, which is just beyond terrible, but
Yeah.
he was open to testing. I had so much testing and so did you. So we both had tests done, and I found out that I had a blood clotting disorder called Factor V Leiden, which was very eye-opening because I had a, like, small stroke. It's called a TIA when I was 21 because I was on the birth control pill, which I should have never have been on. Like, that already puts you at risk for a stroke, and when you have Factor V Leiden, you are at, like, 5 to 10 times higher risk of having blood clots, which can cause DVTs and strokes and all these things. So, it was kind of like everything kind of made sense. And then we're like, okay, we have a solution. When you have Factor V Leiden, then you can take Lovenox, which is like a blood thinner while you're pregnant, and like bada boom, bada bing, you can have a baby.
Yep.
And then,
And it worked.
well, I feel like it took us forever to get pregnant after that. And in reality, it really didn't. It was a couple of months. But like once you have a solution and then I wasn't getting pregnant immediately, it felt so frustrating because I just wanted to see, like, is the Lovenox going to work? And we got pregnant with our daughter, and that was so exciting and also very stressful. So I had a subchorionic hematoma in that pregnancy. So I bled, which is terrifying to bleed into pregnancy when you've had 2 prior losses. So luckily she was healthy and safe and totally fine. And the hematoma had gone away and the Lovenox did in fact work. And we had our daughter in February of 2020, which was the hardest postpartum that I could have ever dreamt of because COVID and the shutdown happened like 3 weeks later. So that was like kind of an odd time, I would say.
Yeah.
What was your thought of postpartum? I know you worked so much. You had a
Yeah.
very different job that was like demanding not only hourly, but also in like that you had to be very focused because you were driving.
Yeah.
So you weren't as hands-on, not because you didn't wanna be, but because for your job and for your safety, like, you kind of couldn't be hands-on in the nights.
Yeah. And we didn't miss a single day. We didn't miss a step once the pandemic happened. Like, it was like, oh, what's this virus? President closes down the country and we still go to work the next day. So
Right, like, you were
nothing stopped.
considered an essential
Yeah, nothing
worker, you
stopped on
didn't
my
stop
end.
working.
And
And you worked outside of the home, so I was home alone
yeah, and at
every day.
first, no,
Every day.
and at first, no matter, what your thoughts about COVID are, the first week, everyone in the world didn't know if it was going to kill everybody or whatever. And we just became parents after
Kind
2
of a yeah.
losses and this and that. So even just take the pandemic out of it, just like normal, viruses that go around, colds and flus, we were just extra like we finally got our baby here, earthside. Like
Mhm.
if anyone is sick of, in any sort of way, like stay
Yeah,
away. Like
don't touch her.
don't come near our baby. Like we finally got one here. But so then yeah, with COVID happening the first, couple weeks or whatever, where everyone was like, "What is this?" We were extra cautious with like, no family or anybody was coming over, and I was gone at work 16 hours a day. So
Yeah,
you were alone,
and there
postpartum
were
with no help
yeah,
for the most part.
yeah, and there were some things that weren't as easy as I thought they were going to be, like breastfeeding. I just pictured myself like, "Oh, this, like, motherly goddess breastfeeding my children. It was gonna be so easy," and it was so hard. I feel like I was kind of, like, hit upside the head with motherhood, and it was not easy to me like I was expecting it to be. And Kaya had, like, 4
4 tongue
tongue ties
ties.
or something. So, luckily, we did get that fixed, and that made our breastfeeding journey significantly better, which was great. And I did, unfortunately, suffer with some postpartum depression, and looking back, I'm like, it's so hard to know, like, was it situational? It was such a weird time. I was so sleep deprived. but I did really struggle with that. But around 3 months, I feel like things got better. Like, that's when finally the tongue tie procedure was working and breastfeeding was getting better. We hired a sleep trainer because mama was going insane. So she was finally sleeping significantly longer stretches. And I feel like it was really, I guess, more like 6 months where I was like, okay, things are getting better. We started seeing family again, and I think things got better. Okay. So fast forward, we moved.
Moved to
We
Texas.
moved to Texas. We live in Central Texas in a small town. We have a couple acres. We live on the same property as my parents. We have some chickens. It's so fun. And I feel like we both were kind of wondering if there were more kids that we wanted to bring into our family or if we were done. I'm an only child, so I feel like I've always been open to the idea of just having one. Like in my trailer, I even said this because this is something that we literally used to say all the time when, like, in regard to kids, that we would for sure have one, maybe two, and never three. Like, we literally say that. It's funny, right? Because now we have three kids, and I can't imagine our life any other way. But we had like several years where we were just happy with one. And then there was one weekend. Do you remember? It was in August of 2022. So our daughter was born in February of 2020. And when she was like 2.5, we had like separate weekends. So I went back to California to host one of my best friend's baby showers. So she was pregnant and I actually like stayed in her nursery and was getting baby fever. And you had one-on-one time with our daughter, Kaya. And we both came back from that weekend and you had so much fun with her. And I came back with baby fever. And we both were like, let's have another baby. We were just like ready and excited and of course, like nervous. I mean, our first postpartum was not ideal. And I was scared to have postpartum depression again and nervous about breastfeeding. And, you know, the newborn phase was not my favorite. I hate to say that, but I really like when kids and babies can interact with you more. So we got pregnant right away.
Yeah.
And it was insane because after what we had been through with Kaya, I guess neither one of us were expecting that. I don't know. I didn't think that it would take a long time. I just didn't think it would happen immediately. He's like, "I did." Okay, so we were so thankful and shocked, and it happened so quickly that I did not have Lovenox on hand, and I was freaking out because I did not wanna have another miscarriage. So, luckily, my OB immediately called it in. I think we got it, like, the same day because I was telling her, like, I cannot have another loss over something that could have been preventable. So, I got the Lovenox, so thankful and happy, and I was kind of immediately sick. I think I must have only been like 5 weeks pregnant and I was starting to like, have adverse reactions to smells and I was like dry heaving and I was like, this is not normal. And because I had losses, they did my HCG and it was quadrupling and it's supposed to only be doubling. So I'm already kind of thinking like, what's going on here? And I did kind of think maybe it was twins.
You said it a couple times and put that juju out there.
It
And
was
I just
already
rolled my
happening.
eyes, was like, "Okay, yeah, sure."
Yeah, I mentioned it a couple of times, and then we go to our ultrasound, which was an early ultrasound because I had had losses, and because my HCG was quadrupling, there are other issues that can happen, like molar pregnancies. That was like a risk for super high HCG. So we have an early ultrasound, and on the way, like we're driving together, me and David, and I tell you, "What are you gonna do if it's twins?" And you were like,
I don't remember what I said, but it was probably something like, it's impossible, there's no way we'd have twins."
"Yeah." So we get to the ultrasound, and I tell the technician, like, this is so weird to say. I've been really nauseous. My HCG is quadrupling. I kind of think we're pregnant with twins. And she was like, oh, that is so funny. I'm a twin mom. Do you remember her saying
Mhm.
that? And I was like, oh, that's cool. And she's like, yeah, I have fraternal boys. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome. So she's like starting the scan and she's so quiet. that I'm starting to honestly get scared. So I'm like, okay, I need you to like tell me what you're seeing. I've had 2 losses, so if there's not a heartbeat, like I need you to just tell me. And she's quiet and she goes, "Okay, I see 1 heartbeat and I see a second one."
Oh my gosh.
And I think I just said like, "I freaking knew it. I knew it."
I froze.
You said, "Oh my god, we're gonna need a bigger car." It was like immediate like logistics planning,
Oh, yeah,
financial.
that's where my brain goes
Yeah.
instantly.
I feel like that's like a normal dad reaction.
Yeah.
And then as she, like, finished the ultrasound, I just nervous laughed, like, the whole time, like, sat there like, I don't even know what else I said except, like, "I knew it. I can't believe this. Oh my god."
I blacked out, so I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I was, like, absolutely shaking, like, of excitement and fear, like, all of the things. And then in the car, we called our parents, and your mom was like I think she was like, "Shut the F up." And I was like and then she was like, "You're lying." And I was like,
That's
"I
what your
would
mom said.
never, ever lie about any type of pregnancy, especially after losses. I'm not lying." So then we, like, text them a picture of the ultrasound, like, "Here they are. They're tiny." It's like a 6-week ultrasound. But the interesting thing is because it was such an early ultrasound, they could tell that they were di-di. So we have a rare type of twins. Our twins are di-di, so they had their own sacs and their own placentas, but they are identical, which we did not know at the time because do you remember this? The ultrasound technician wrongly said, "Oh, they're fraternal because they're in different sacs." And I knew nothing about twins. So I was like, "All right, fraternal twins, cool." Um, and since I'm already high risk because I have the blood clotting disorder, we would see a high risk doctor. And he mentioned like if we wanted to do the genetic testing and I was interested. And he was like, "Okay, well, we'll see if they're identical or fraternal." And I was like, "What do you mean? I thought they were fraternal." He's like, "Oh, there's a small chance they could be identical. I think it's like 25%." So we had planned to do like a gender reveal when your family was in town. And I was so excited. We were going to do like a cupcake roulette, like bite into it and see, do you get blue or pink? Or I don't know how we would have done it if we had fraternal boy girls. But, anyways, we were going to do that. And the results were taking forever. It was through the holidays because I think your family was here like Christmas through New Year's Eve. And I was freaking out like, oh my gosh, is something wrong? What's going on? But I feel like maybe testing for twins just takes longer. So they call me, and that was not how I was planning to get the results. So they call me and they're like, "We have your test result. Do you want to know?" And I'm like, "Of course I want to know." So she's like, "Okay, they're identical." And I like kind of blacked out again because I just assumed they were fraternal. Like, even though the doctor had mentioned, like, oh, they could be. So then I'm thinking, like, oh my goodness, it's either girls and we're going to have 3 girls, which is insane, or we're going to have 2 boys and twin boys are insane.
Yep.
So I was like kind of nervous. Like, I feel like in my head, when we found out it was twins, I was kind of thinking like the ideal pair would be fraternal boy girl. I don't know why I thought that. I mean, all twins are amazing. So yeah, we found out we were pregnant with twin boys. And what were your thoughts when you found out that it was 2 boys after having a daughter?
Well, got the best of both worlds. Got boys and a daughter, so good to go there. But I just love being a girl dad, and that's all I knew at the time. So obviously, I was excited to have boys. Every man wants to have boys, but I also was going to be super excited if it was twin girls. Just I love being a girl dad. So I was excited and of course nervous too at the same time. I still can't believe it, and we're almost 3 years in.
I know I feel like even now, we did this way more when they were like babies, but even now we're still like, can
Can't
you
believe we
believe
have
we have
twins. Yeah.
twins? It's kind of wild. Okay, so the pregnancy, other than being high risk, I honestly was mainly high risk because of my blood clotting disorder, because having di twins is the least risky type of twins. So I had appointments all the time. It was, like, getting to the point where they'd be like, "Do you want these ultrasound pictures?" And I was like, "Not really. We have, like, 100 at the house." So I was just constantly going to the doctor, but it was good. We wanted to make sure, they were growing and healthy and safe and blood flow was okay and all that stuff. Um I feel like I just got lucky that there weren't any other things like high risk, and I was able to make it to 37 weeks, which I know as a twin mom was just kind of insane. And I will tell you, I was large and in charge and in so much pain. I was so uncomfortable. Those like last few weeks, I was kind of hoping that they would just come. And I really thought that they were. Like I had so much pressure, kind of just felt like they were going to come out. But you were so kind and rubbed my feet every night.
That's right.
I got spoiled. But if you're a twin dad listening or just a regular dad, you should definitely rub some toes.
Rub those feet.
Yeah, that really helped. And taking baths helped and stuff. So I make it to 36 weeks, and the scans were showing that the boys had kind of stopped growing. So I think the initial plan was that they wanted me to go to 38 weeks, which actually is the gestation that Kaya, our daughter, made it to. I never made it for further than 38 weeks. I was induced at that time. So I did find an OBGYN who was on board with me trying a vaginal delivery, which was kind of a big deal to me. I just wanted to try, and if it was safe, then I wanted to do it, because I think I was really scared of having a C-section. Whoever says having a C-section is the easy way out is so wrong. It is a full-on abdominal surgery that you have to heal from, on top of caring for newborn twins, on top of caring for a toddler. So I was just, like, scared of that. And I had a vaginal delivery with my daughter and really wanted to try that. So, luckily, baby A was head down and baby B was transverse, which I will tell you was the most uncomfortable thing. I don't know, top 5 worst experiences pain-wise. And they would do ultrasounds, they'd be like, "He is in your ribs." And I was like, I know." Yes, he is. But because of their positioning, it was safe to try a vaginal delivery. So we did. I feel like it was an interesting experience. I don't know how it was for you. It was very overwhelming for me. So they did let me labor in like a normal labor and delivery room, which was nice, but I had to give birth in the OR. And that was so overwhelming because I did not know that David would be like,
And scrubs?
I did not know that. I guess that makes sense. She was like, "We will be in the OR. And in case anything goes wrong, we'll have access to everything right away." But yeah, they like got you dressed and you were like wearing the cap and like all
I
of
was
it.
locked in.
You were like head to toe, like you were ready for surgery. And I
Just ready
was
for whatever.
that was really overwhelming. And then there were maybe like 12 people in the room,
Yeah, there's a lot.
like so many. And I think they had asked me ahead of time, like, "Are you okay if students come in and watch or like other nurses?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't care. That's totally fine." But then when it actually came time to, like, look around, I was like, "Oh, wow, this room is packed." And it wasn't just looky-loos, of course, it was, like, 2 anesthesiologists and our doctor and several nurses and 2 baby nurses per baby, and it was just and then, like, the NICU team was there. So it was kind of wild, and I also did not know that I would be prepped for a C-section. That was something that I did not understand. So they started, like, putting the, like, gown over me as I'm, like, laying down, and I'm like, "Oh, no, no, I'm not having a C-section. I'm gonna try to do this vaginally." And he was like, "Oh, yeah, but you still need to be prepped for surgery." So that was really overwhelming. A nurse offered to take pictures of the delivery, which was very kind and thoughtful, and I have a hard time looking at those pictures because I look so scared. I think I was overwhelmed, and, like, there's, like, bright lights in the OR, like, it's sterile. It was just
It's a lot.
it was a lot. So, baby A, Wyatt, of course, was first, and, I feel like it was a relatively easy labor. I'm so thankful for that, and I'm so thankful that I had the practice with our daughter, Kaya. 'cause if I didn't, then I don't know what I would have opted for. But I had had that experience, and that was a positive experience. So, yep, Wyatt came out, and I will never forget, they put him on my chest, and I was, like, not ready for cuddles. "There's still another baby, I need to push out." So they, like, put him on my chest, and they're like, "Hug your baby, mama." And I was like, "I'm not ready." So, they all probably thought I was weird for saying that, but I was kind of still in, like, go mode, like, "Let's do this, let's push." So,
Yeah.
then 7 minutes later, Waylon was born. And they did not put Waylon on my chest immediately. So Waylon, I don't know if it was because his positioning, so he was transverse and then they moved him. And I don't know if he was like in there longer or what it was, but he inhaled a lot of amniotic fluid. So we still got very lucky. He was never rushed to the NICU or anything. The nurses just had to spend a little bit more time like massaging that out. But it was very scary after they put Wyatt on my chest immediately, and then they take Waylon back, and I'm like, "Whoa, where's my other baby?" But
I was there
I
with a Sharpie ready to mark him so I could tell the difference. But Waylon came out with a little birthmark on his leg,
yes,
tiny one, but that birthmark, I'm like, perfect. We're never gonna mix them up. Because that's what I was terrified. Because they're identical, but when they're babies, identical babies, you're not telling any difference.
yes.
Like, I still look at pictures of them, and if I can't see the birthmark in pictures when we brought them home, I can't tell the difference between them now.
Oh my gosh. We should also say that they were 1 ounce different. So I know that some babies like, oh, are a pound more or whatever.
Yeah.
No, no, they were 4 pounds, 13 ounces and 4 pounds, 14 ounces. So a 1 ounce difference. They were the same length or maybe like slightly different, but not like, oh, one's like so long and one's so short.
Yeah, you
So
couldn't tell the difference.
it was very hard. And that was really crazy when I was pregnant. I was very, very afraid of mixing them up. And yeah, thank goodness. Thank goodness for that birthmark for sure. So we had a pretty good hospital stay. Like we said, I just feel so unbelievably lucky and grateful that they did not have any NICU time because I know that is not the norm. And it's not what we were planning for. We were absolutely planning to have NICU time. And we knew since we made it to 37 weeks that maybe it would be more minimal since their lungs were developed. But we also weren't planning on them being so small. And all of the ultrasound scans, they were showing more like 5.5 pounds. So when they came out, you know, just under 5. I feel like them saying 4 pounds. 4 pounds, I was like, "What?" I was a little bit shocked by that.
I feel like they always over exaggerate or they don't really know. And maybe that's just in our situation, but
That
it was
happened
the
with
same thing with
Kaya.
Kaya.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, she's going to be, they were a pound and a half off.
Yeah.
And then
Because
with the
Kaya was
boys, they
small
were
too.
off. But I mean, there's two of them in there, so they can't get, you know, bigger. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of room in there.
Yeah. I was at maximum capacity. But in the hospital, like I mentioned earlier, Waylon, when he was born, did swallow some amniotic fluid, and we thought everything was okay, and it did end up being okay. But maybe on day 2, so even though we didn't have NICU time, we were in the hospital for, like, maybe 4 or 5 days. But I was, like, burping Waylon, and he spit up a ton of blood, and I was, like, horrified. And the nurse probably thought I was like the most dramatic person in the world, but I was holding him and I just ran out into the hallway. Like I didn't press the call button. I just was like, help, help. I'd never seen anything like that before and I didn't know what that meant. And it kind of seemed like he was like not choking, he was gagging on like the thick fluid and it was bloody. It was a lot of blood. So because that happened, they did chest x-rays just to make sure what was going on and everything came back normal. But another thing was their glucose was super low. So they were always on the borderline of like, okay, if this glucose drops, then you're going to the NICU. So we just prayed and prayed, like, oh my gosh, please let the glucose get better. And they were like, the glucose is only going to get better if they are eating really well. So that kind of brings us into like, how did we feed our twins? Because what we ended up doing was absolutely not my plan, and I'm so thankful that I allowed for flexibility because I did not allow that for Kaya. I was so set on solely breastfeeding our daughter that if someone mentioned formula, I was almost like, "How dare you?" And I look back at that and I'm like, "Oh, I wish that I wouldn't have had that reaction," because with the boys, we immediately pivoted, and I think that's kind of what you have to do when you have twins is, like, you have to know, like, nothing's permanent, you have to pivot the plan even if it's not what you were expecting, and I kind of immediately started pumping in the hospital because they were not getting anything when they latched, and we noticed, like,
Well, at first your plan was that you're gonna breastfeed both of them at
tandem.
the same
Yeah,
time, tandem, and, like, you're gonna do that, and I'm like, more power to you, I support you, go for it," but, like, I can't help if
sure.
you have both of them and that's how you're feeding them. Like, so I think you did that we tried that for 1 day,
Oh, yeah,
maybe.
let's share. I did it not even one day, I did it one time that I tandem breastfed them. They were so small. So the only time that we did this was, like, right after birth in the golden hour. You were holding one baby and a nurse was holding another baby. Yes, it took 3 adults for me to tandem breastfeed our babies. So and then when I was trying to breastfeed them individually, they were so small, they were, like, so sleepy that they just kept falling asleep. They weren't, like, getting anything, and the nurse was saying, like, "Oh, maybe their cheek muscles are, like, underdeveloped." Nothing is wrong with, like, trying to pump and giving them your colostrum and then eventually your milk. So we did that kind of right away, and even in the hospital, we got this really good system of, like, pumping every so often and giving them the colostrum, and then that's when we noticed their glucose increase and get better. So it was like I almost needed to see, like, that cause and effect. When I gave them the milk that I had pumped, they were doing better. So it was like, okay, kind of a no-brainer that that was the, like, route that we needed to go, and then you could help.
Hmm,
And yeah. So that was huge. So when we came home, you would help feed them, and that was so huge because you obviously couldn't do that with our daughter.
yeah.
So did you like helping, being able to
Oh, of
help and
course. Yeah, I thought I was gonna let you try to do it all yourself because if you wanna try tandem breastfeeding, go for it. I'm not gonna stand in your way, but, yeah, there's 2 of them, so it would be a lot more helpful for everybody. If I can take one, you can take one, save each other's sanity, and we all just team up together and get it done.
yeah, and I feel like we got a good system down,
Yeah.
and I am gonna be
Good.
having a guest talk about exclusive pumping for twins, so we will have a whole podcast about that in the next couple of weeks, and I would love to have someone come on who did breastfeed their twins, whether it was tandem or one at a time. I feel like both of those things are impressive. A good tip in motherhood in general is, like, a fed baby is best. Like, breast milk is so wonderful, but if you can't do it or it's too hard or, like, the logistics aren't working, then that's okay. So I did pump exclusively, and I was waking up through the night, like, pumping every 3 hours. It was kind of a brutal schedule, but that's what I wanted to do, and we had a really good system. And then around 4 months, I started sleeping longer stretches at night, and that really messed up my milk supply. Like, it just decreased a ton, and since they were drinking more, I wasn't able to keep up with the amount of milk that they were drinking. So, we finally added in formula, and it was something that I was, like, so okay with. I remember the first time that we ever gave them formula. It was when Marla and Adam were here. That's, David's brother and my sister-in-law. And we were, like, all doing it on the couch together. I think Marla was pregnant. And we were, like, kinda joking that it was, like, baby boot camp for them since they were pregnant and they were practicing and stuff. So I was like, "Okay, let's, like, give them a bottle of formula and see what happens." And they literally did not bat an eye. I was like, "Oh, maybe they'll, like, turn up their nose to it, like, oh, this isn't mommy's milk." And they literally didn't care. They were like, loved it. And then do you remember what happened with Waylon?
No.
He had the most massive spit up on you that I have
On me?
ever seen. Yes, are you kidding? Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to, like, post a picture of this so that people can see. Do you not remember how the massive spit up throw up that he did all over
I
you?
remember a picture, but I don't remember the first 3 months.
Well, because even though and we could talk about our schedule and what we did, but we were still very sleep deprived, even with, like, a good schedule. When you have twins and they're newborns and they're getting up every couple of hours to eat, you're gonna be
Yeah, I feel
tired.
like if you don't have, like, a rock solid plan with your partner to be like, "This is what we're doing," and you're both on the same page and you just go in to execute it. Because even when you have a solid plan like that, it's so hard.
Yeah. Okay, so let's back up. Well, let's go over what we did. But before we do that, we have had so much help. And I am so thankful because it was not like that with our daughter. So I did not have any postpartum depression with the boys, which is so crazy to me because I was so afraid of that. So, of course, did I have the baby blues? Did I cry? Absolutely. Was I tired? I was so sleep deprived. I will tell you this quick story and then we'll tell you our schedule. So, one night, I'm like sitting there and I'm thinking, what are our kids' names? I literally could not think of them. I knew they started with W's. Our boys' names are Waylon and Wyatt. So I'm like, I know it's W's. And then I was like, Wayne, is their name collectively Wayne? That's how tired I was. Yes. Like just the sleep deprivation and newborn schedule in general is crazy, but then double it and it is so wild. But okay, let's tell them before we say our schedule. I was saying we have so much help. My parents live on the same property as us, and they were so unbelievably helpful. And David's mom is a nurse and was able to take time off and came and lived with us for like 3 weeks. It was amazing. And she is a night shift PICU nurse, like pediatric nurse. So I'm like, this is your specialty. It was just so awesome. She stayed up with us through the nights and, did feedings. And she was just all of our parents were just like such rock stars.
When me and
And
my mom would do the night feedings, we'd do it differently than when you and my mom would.
because you guys like to have races,
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Well, because I think just when you're around, whether it's you and my mom or me and you, we listen to all the rules that you say. So, okay, this
Jess
is how we
rules.
do the bottle. Okay, this is no, and we don't give it to him too fast or this and that. When you were sleeping and it'd be me and my mom, yeah, we'd have like games and competitions, me and my mom trying to see who, all right, my baby's gonna finish the bottle first or get the bigger burp or whatever. It's so fun.
I was gonna say, the one thing I mean, I don't like that you were, like, racing giving them the
Well,
bottles
you know,
because, like, we don't wanna hurt their tummies and then
oh,
them have gas or whatever. But I do like that you guys made it fun because I think it was easier for us to do that with the boys because of 2 reasons. 1, we had already had a daughter and we had had some practice. So that gives you like a little bit of confidence and perspective. And 2, we knew that these were our last babies. Like we knew that we were never going to do this again. I scheduled my husband's vasectomy when I was pregnant with the twins. I was like, just knew that we would be done with 3, and I was in so much physical pain towards the end of that pregnancy that I was like, "I cannot do this again." So, snip, snap, snip. Anyways, we need to get to the schedule. So, with that being said, we had so much help. So, if you are a pregnant twin mom, line up your help now. Like, who can come stay with you? A friend, a relative, your parents, a sister, who can come help you? Because like I said, my parents and David's family helped us a ton. And my neighborhood and friends set up a meal train for us that lasted maybe 6 weeks. It was unreal. So you can set that up through mealtrain.com. It is so amazing. And people brought us 2 meals a week and they like went all out. They brought us like really nice meals, side dishes, desserts. And that was so nice to not have to think about like dinner and then we would have leftovers. So, and just have like a nice, warm, comforting, nourishing meal. Oh my gosh, amazing. So we had so much support. I'm so thankful for that because I know not everyone has that. But this is kind of the schedule that me and David did when it was just me and David during the nights. Do you want to tell them what we did?
Well, we would set up two bassinets in the living room, and then we would just take shifts of like, okay, I got them for the next 4 hours. The feedings, changing their diapers, making sure they're sleeping, and I'm, right here on the couch watching TV the whole time or whatever, but I'm in charge of all the stuff for the next 4 hours. That way she can go in the bedroom and not hear them, making little noises or whatever, where she can just like lights out sleep solid for 4 hours. And then as soon as, whatever the end of that time is, she came out, everything was ready for her, and she just has to take care of them for the next 4 hours so I can sleep. If you've had a singleton, then you know that your body adapts really quickly to getting way less sleep.
Mhm.
So, like, when I would sleep for 4 hours, if I got actually a solid 4 hours, like, you wake up feeling like you got 12 hours. You're just like, "I'm good. Let's go." Yeah, we just because I mean, we tried, I think maybe one night, like putting the bassinet in our room so we can both sleep next to each other and we're all together. And it's like in a, perfect fairy tale, like that may not work for everybody. And it may work for some people. And if it does work for some people, like awesome. But for us, it didn't.
So, like, the living room is like baby station, bottles, baby sleeping, pumping. And then the bedroom is like whoever is in the bedroom is getting uninterrupted sleep. I will never forget though. So one night, it's my turn and I am on. And I got the babies down. The boys start crying. And I'm like, okay, I can handle this. They're both crying. And then our daughter, Kaya, starts crying. It is like 3 in the morning. All of them are crying. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to break our agreement. And I need like all hands on deck right now. So I go to wake up David and he has locked the door. Oh man, I was banging on that like the cops, like, open up, bro.
Ugh, that was an accident.
I know.
Yeah, I lock every door behind me all the time. Even when it's in the middle of the day coming in from the garage, I always
Lock
lock
it.
the door.
That's a good
Yeah.
habit. But man, I was mad. I was like, "I need help ASAP." And then, of course, you, like, opened the door and helped immediately, but so, of
Oops.
course, if you're, like, feeling overwhelmed and you need help, then you can do it, but I feel like that worked very well for us because whoever was getting solid sleep was getting, like, really good chunk, which is crazy to think that 4 hours is a good chunk of sleep, but, like, if that's all you're gonna get that night so we had 3 kids under the age of 3 years old. So, like, you can do a lot when you've had 4 hours of sleep.
That felt
You
great.
can't do a lot when all night you've been woken up and no one's gotten any bit of solid sleep. So and we knew that it was temporary. We knew that eventually the boys would be in their bedroom and they would eventually, sleep through the night and all these things. So this was really like the first couple of months.
Yeah,
So I think
all
that
temporary.
all temporary. And we were in survival.
Yeah.
So the boys are 2.5. They turned 3 in June. So what do you think has been like the hardest stage of having twins? Like the newborn stage and, like,
Yeah,
handling
for sure.
nights?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so too.
just because there's 2 of them, and, I mean, now it's kind of weird, I don't understand how they do this, but if one wakes up in the middle of the night, having a bad dream or something now, like, they could be screaming at the top of their lungs, and the other baby who sleeps 1 foot away in a crib, like, their cribs are literally a foot apart.
If that.
Yeah, and
6 inches.
the other baby will be completely out.
They sleep through each other's, like, little
Yeah,
squabbles. It's pretty wild.
but in the beginning, they didn't.
Mhm.
And in the beginning, they would sleep in the same bassinet
Yeah,
sometimes, and then in the same crib because they just liked.
to touch each other.
Yeah, they just, in the womb, they were right next to each other, and I feel like right when we brought them home, they just always, you know, facing each other, always just like to be laying right next to each other.
I will never forget that at the hospital. So, we were in like the postpartum room and then they wheel you to another room and we wheeled them in separate bassinets and they were crying and like just like uncomfortable and stuff. So we get settled in our new room and I don't know if you did it or I did it, but we just like moved them into the same bassinet and they melded into each other. It was like,
Trying.
and stopped crying. It was like the sweetest thing that I think I've ever seen. And I feel like knew from then, like, wow, being a twin mom and witnessing their bond is going to be so special.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've talked about our journey to parenthood and kind of like the beginnings of being twin parents. And we are still very new. Like, our twins are only 2.5 years old. And I'm super excited to keep giving updates and having twin moms on to talk about all topics related to twin mom life and the twin experience. And thank you for coming on and chatting. And I love you.
I love you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy twin mom life to listen along. I hope this podcast shed some light on a topic that's been on your heart and gave you more confidence as a twin mama. If you know a twin mom, please send this her way. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Check out the show notes to be connected with today's guest and get discount codes for brands I love. See you next Thursday. Until then, you were made for this.